First, let's talk about thesis statements. You guys have that out? All right, so this is a handout that you don't have to do, although there are things that will help you on here in trying to figure out what is in a good thesis statement. So the most basic formula would just be the subject and the claim. If you don't have a subject and a claim in your thesis statement, you are doing it wrong. So the other thing, claim is arguable. Something that you have to then argue or explain, prove through the rest of the essay. So subject and claim, but what I want you guys to do, which most of the time you need to be doing, is you also need to put your reasoning. Notice this is different than because this, and this. Sometimes it takes that form, but that's what you definitely learned in high school with the 3-part thesis statement, right? So what you're trying to do here is you're not trying to list things. What happens when you have like 8 body paragraphs? Are you going to be like, because this, and this? Was that 8? Anyway, you get the point. Like, you don't want to just like string it along like that. What you want to give is your reasoning, and maybe your reasoning takes 3 or 7 body paragraphs to explain. You're supporting this reason, and sometimes that reason is twofold, sometimes that reason is threefold, but it could just be one thing, and that could be the logic behind it, the criteria that you use, something like that. It's not necessarily the point itself, though, right? There's multiple points in that reasoning, so you want to try and make the most unified claim that you can, and you want to look at your essay as not making 3 random claims that somehow tie back randomly to the larger claim. You want a fluid argument that is building, each body paragraph is building on the one before it. This is how you get like real essays. You're like, what do you mean about all the essays I've ever written? Well, we're working on it. Don't worry. So drafting a working thesis. Notice working thesis because you're not quite sure until the very end if this is what you're sticking with. Sometimes you get a while into it and then you realize, oh crap, I need to go more narrow. I think I said this already. Or, oh, I actually need to focus just on this one thing, right? I had like 3 different reasons or reasonings that I was using, but I really just need to go with one or something like that. And you'll need to modify it sometimes, but so just start with the working thesis. Sometimes it can be a question. I mentioned that before. It's not a question. Your thesis is never a question, but it is always an answer to a question. So if you want to come up with that hypothetical question in your head, or just write it down up above it and find a way to answer that question, that's oftentimes a good way to do it. And then you can test your thesis that way. What we're going to talk about briefly before we get into the ads is making a claim. So there are 2 types of there's 3 types of claims when we're speaking very generally here. Who won? 4. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Woo! All right. So just remember that. Remember that. Sorry. See? It gets stuck in your head, and first you parody it, and then at what point do you then become it? Did I tell you about George? Right? Not you guys, right? Me? Yeah, we're not going to go over that. Okay, so claims of fact, value, and policy. All right, so this could be, it'd have to be the other order of a pyramid, right? This could be a pyramid too, with fact, value, then policy, in the sense of, in order to make an argument of value, you need to make arguments of fact. See, the thing with fact is it's not really so much arguable. It's either true or not. You make a claim of fact, and all I have to do is look it up. So let's test one out. Barack Obama has taken more vacations than any other president in the history of the U.S. Is this something that can be argued, or is it something that must be looked up and it's verifiable and there's no argument? It's just either true or not. It's either true or not. What about this one, though? Claim Barack Obama's presidency has been one of the most efficient and effective of the last 50 years. Not just research it, you have to prove it in an arguable way because of what language? Yeah? What are the most what? Efficient and effective. Those two words are subjective, so you need to be able to argue that that's a value thing, right? You have to put a value on what is efficient and effective. What if, for me, it's just getting turned, going to partying and going and playing golf all the time? Sounds like success to me. Sounds efficient and effective, right? So you have to explain, you have to have criteria of what those mean. And that's where you'll use facts to back that up, but see how it gets more complicated because it's not just so black and white? Here, let's do another example. On the back, you'll see two. So when it says, notice it says claim and non-claim. When it's saying non-claim, it means it's not really an arguable claim. It's a claim of fact. So think of it like that. You could write that as a little note there if you want. But this is the arguable kind. So we're in this context, we're saying claim, non-claim. Gasoline prices are on the rise. Claim or non-claim? Huh? Why?
Because you can look that up.
You just look it up. You're like, oh, they are. Or oh, they aren't. Yeah. Oh, you're going to the wrong gas station, bro. Yeah. What about this one? It takes a great deal of practice, perseverance, and talent to become a successful actor. That's a claim. Why? What language? What subjective language is being used? Huh? Perseverance, talent, and success. Or sorry. Yeah, even success. What's success? Success might be no one ever hears of you, but you are like a tremendous actor on stage. No one really knows about like a lot of stage actors, right? They know about like Brad Pitt, who is not a very good actor. He takes roles that are like anyone would want to play those roles. Try picking a role where it makes people hate you in real life because you played it so well. Like Joffrey from Game of Thrones. Like he stopped acting because people hated him so much. I'm pretty sure that's why he stopped. Anyone watch that show? Like you hate him in real life, and it's like you're sorry because you know that's not him, and yet you can't help it because it was that well done. Also, Keanu Reeves, not really that good. I'm sure you guys all like John Wick and everything, but like, whoa, I know Kung Fu. Or, I'm surfing. Yes, we can see you're surfing. You're on a wave right now. That was Point Break. It's never mind. Anyway, the old Point Break, crap, they made a new one. It's probably not as good. It was actually a good movie. It's just, never mind. Also, people can be successful just because they are the child of another actor, right? So they get in, not because they're good, but because of nepotism, right? So there's all kinds of things that come into play there that you have to argue about, and you have to build criteria for. And yeah? Policy then goes and tells you what to do with it. So that means you have to explain all the much more facts and value arguments in order to definitively, or you can't really definitively, but to compel someone to want to change policy over it, which means make everyone else comply to it. Do you get what I mean? So you're not really going to go this far in this class because it's not fair to make you do that, because you should probably be an expert before you talk about this kind of stuff, because then you'll just be talking out of your ass, right? It's not fair. Even for me, like for me to go and say that we should change policy when I'm not an expert in a certain field is me not taking that seriously enough. So stuff like that. Although I make these arguments all the time. The other thing is, remember we said subject, claim, and reasoning. So, you get your subject is an ad, right? Your subject is this ad, the whatever ad you picked. You've got 3 ads, you're doing 1. I just told you to bring in 3 in case, 2 of them sucked, right? And you thought it was good, but it's really just a sandwich ad that's not really like perpetuating some kind of thing in society other than eat turkey or something. Anyway, so the other part down here, we've got examples of the difference between a claim section and a reasoning section of your thesis statement. And there's a clear difference. So you've got this example here. The FDA needs to be more rigorous in applying safety standards to the products it regulates due to the potentially fatal consequences to consumers if it fails to do so. So you see the claim portion at the beginning and then the reasoning portion after. And what signifies the difference between the two? Is there any language that keys you in, that signals that we've moved on to the other section? Due to. And I want you to circle due to. So I would suggest doing that. Yeah, we don't have too much more time, so we're gonna move on from here. But if you want, you can go back through here and you can see the ways that people do it without listing. A couple of these thesis examples here in both sections do a listing thing, but not all of them. And so you can see how reasoning can replace listing. Like rather than listing out baseball players, you can list out like the thing that is the reasoning behind what's going on with those baseball players.